Hello, my name is Isaiah Cooper. I'm going to be going over the muted group theory. Now, some key points that I'm going to be going over is what exactly the muted group theory is, how it affects our daily life, and how it has affected our daily life in the past, okay? Now, there are some things that you want to be aware of when we're talking about a muted group. Now, the muted group started by a British author named Edwin Ardener, okay? And he wrote a series of essays covering the muted group theory. Now, in his essays, he described what he was seeing in his daily life, and this was back when women were just now starting to enter the workforce. So he's talking about women pretty much not making the same amount of money as their male counterparts and not being respected from various things that were happening to these young women, just trying to make some money to bring some extra money into the door, from sexual harassment, you name it. They just weren't being respected. Now, this is why he made the muted group theory. So I just want to go ahead and say that just because he made the essay based on women and what they were going through at that time does not necessarily mean that you need to be a woman to be a part of a muted group, okay? You can be a part of a team, a club, a race, a gender. As long as you're a part of a group and your difficulties, what you want to get across isn't being heard and it's kind of being toned down, you can be a part of a muted group. Now, the Merriam-Webster dictionary defines muted as being mute and silent. The second definition is toned down / low-key subdued. And I think that goes in perfectly with the muted group theory and what it means to be muted. Now, if your problems aren't being solved and they aren't being heard, you're definitely toned down and you're definitely being subdued. You're low key because you're not being on that same level as you would like to be with your counterparts in whatever industry model. Just if your needs aren't being met, you're being muted. Okay, so let's get into how the muted group theory is being combated today in the original sense by Edwin Ardener's philosophy and theories. Now today, feminism has been talked about more than ever, that I can say, especially in this new day and age of social media. Now, the moment that something is said that is hurtful or maybe tone deafs another group, people go online and they're able to share that information and they're able to solve their problems that way. And before you know it, you can upload a video talking about what you feel is concerning to you and that people just aren't respecting, and before you know it, you got thousands of views. So I think that the new movement of feminism, the LGBTQ community, and the marches and the different their whole entire movement and what they've got going on has completely boosted the women's rights. Now, the Me Too movement as well, in correlation with that, advocacy for victims of domestic violence, and so many other different levels that the Me Too movement has also helped women as being the original, in a sense, muted group. So I think it's important that we we look back and we kind of learn from our mistakes in the past. So of course now I'm not going to say that everything is completely fine and women are getting paid what they're supposed to be getting and everything's going we're living in a perfect world, and that's just not the case, right? So we've made big steps. Okay, we have people like Oprah Winfrey, who's a television show host and made waves as one of the first African women to have a consistent show on television, which was pretty much unheard of at the time. Okay, and there are plenty other women just making waves and making stride for their muted group. Um, women women have also been making a lot more money compared to before in the 1960s. Okay, so we can there's so many different outlets and ways that we can see that we've been advancing. There are people that are fundraising, marching, and campaigning for advocacy of these muted groups. Millennials, in my opinion, have been doing a good job when it comes to making sure that nobody's left out. If you are being left out, within a matter of years and consistency and pushing again, you can be on a national level, and your problems will be on a national level, so that they'll be heard. Back to what I was saying with social media, the power of social media in this new generation completely contradicts the way that newspapers in the 1960s operated in terms of the public receiving information. Now, with the click of a button, before you know it, you can have 1,000 shares, 1,000,000 shares, and half of the world, maybe even the whole entire world, could have viewed your video and just to see your viewpoint, and it makes it a lot more easier for you to get your point across, what you want to get what you want to get across. So some things to think about going forward is how can we continuously change? What can we do to completely erase the concept of there being a muted group? There will always be a muted group, but what can we do to change that and make it a lot better so that there's less muted groups in our society, in the world, right? So I think we should be a lot more loving, a lot more open to hear people's problems, less quicker to blame, and that's my viewpoint. But I think going forward, just think of in your everyday life, what can I do to change kind of like the way that the movie's playing out? What can I do to change my community and then eventually change society today?